Where Winds Meet arrives in a landscape where most new online RPGs either collapse under their own ambition or lean heavily into monetization to sustain themselves. In contrast, this title emerges as both an artistic showcase and a systems-driven sandbox that tries to merge open-world wuxia, cinematic storytelling, and optional MMO elements into one cohesive experience. What makes it so fascinating is not just its beauty or its martial arts combat, but the way it balances two identities: a narrative-focused single-player and co-op RPG, and a shared online hub where players gather, fight, trade, and roleplay. Whether it succeeds as the new best MMORPG depends entirely on how you define that genre, but its achievements as an open-world action RPG are undeniable. One of the game's immediate strengths is the presentation of its world. Set in a stylized version of ancient China, Where Winds Meet brings to life a vast continent filled with mountain temples, bamboo forests, massive trade cities, lonely plains, and coastal villages. What separates this world from many other open-world RPGs is the density of its ambient life. There are thousands of NPCs visible at any moment, not simply standing around, but actively interacting with each other. Musicians perform, merchants haggle, children chase animals, street performers show off, and guards patrol dynamically rather than following strict, predictable loops. These characters also remember the player's actions. If you help a wandering scholar, he might recite poetry to you later. If you rescue a village from bandits, the locals will speak of you and greet you differently. The world does not feel static. It feels as though it continues to exist regardless of your presence. The day-night cycle, weather system, and lighting all reinforce this immersion. The game is as comfortable putting you in a peaceful rice field during sunset as it is throwing you into a thunderstorm atop a mountain fortress. Despite being free to play, the game's visual fidelity rivals many premium titles, with intricate character shading, detailed clothing physics, and particles that follow attacks and abilities with film-level precision. This attention to detail extends to animations. Every weapon stance, movement technique, and martial arts flourish is crafted with care, often referencing classic wuxia cinema. Combat is one of the areas where the developers clearly poured a significant amount of passion. The game does not rely on classes. Instead, players build their fighting style from weapons, martial art manuals, internal energy disciplines, and special techniques. Each weapon type feels distinct. The sword is fast and elegant, capable of parries and counters. The spear offers wide, sweeping control and lunging attacks. The greatsword leans toward heavy, armor-breaking blows. The bow allows ranged sniping as well as acrobatic close-quarters arrow barrages. Every weapon has its own unique moveset, accompanied by a set of martial arts skills that can be mixed and matched to form a personal identity. The game also includes mystical abilities like transforming into illusions, summoning elemental forces, or blending Drunken Fist and fire breathing in ways that drastically impact crowd control. What truly elevates the combat is the influence of Sekiro-like timing systems. Successful parries break enemy posture, opening them up to cinematic finishing moves that feel weighty and satisfying. Bosses are challenging without being unfair, frequently featuring multiple phases, environmental hazards, and attack patterns that demand observation rather than button mashing. The game includes assist tools for players who may struggle with fast parry timing, such as visual indicators or simplified counter windows, helping keep the experience accessible without watering down the challenge. The single-player and co-op portion contains the majority of the game's quests, exploration, and narrative content. Where Winds Meet is an open-world RPG first. All story progression, enemy encounters, dungeon-like areas, and boss fights occur in a traditional RPG world that you can explore alone or with up to 3 other players. This part of the game is massive, offering dozens of hours of quests tied to political intrigue, philosophical dilemmas, and classic wuxia storytelling themes like revenge, honor, moral ambiguity, and the struggle between warlords and common people. Optional side stories often lead to unique abilities, martial arts manuals, or even exclusive movement skills that expand exploration possibilities. For players who love wandering worlds, experimenting with gameplay styles, and discovering hidden secrets, this is the part of the game where it truly shines. However, the developers also built a separate online zone meant to function as the game's MMO hub. This is where guilds gather in large communal halls, where players duel in PvP arenas, participate in large-scale guild wars, trade items, socialize, build houses, and engage in multiplayer professions. The contrast between the handcrafted open world and the structured online hub is intentional. The MMO area feels like a town square mixed with training grounds and cooperative playgrounds rather than a full open world filled with monsters and quests. There are battle royale modes, ranked arenas, and 30 versus 30 wars for territory or reputation. There are also group challenges, parkour races, and martial arts tournaments that emphasize competition rather than exploration. Meeting strangers, joining factions, or showing off outfits and titles. This hub adds longevity and community interaction to the otherwise story-driven experience. One of the game's most unique innovations is its profession and identity system. You are not simply a warrior or adventurer. You can become a doctor who brews medicines, a musician who plays instruments to influence NPCs, a merchant who manages trade routes, a scholar who solves ancient puzzles, or even a trickster who specializes in pranks and misdirection. Each profession is more than a cosmetic label. A doctor can diagnose illnesses, create antidotes to rare poisons, and heal players during group activities. A musician uses rhythm-based minigames to perform songs that can charm animals or unravel hidden lore. Merchants can control regional supply chains, earning money and manipulating in-game economies. The profession system adds depth to roleplay and gives the world a sense of social structure that makes it feel alive. Despite all these strengths, the game still exhibits rough edges. The user interface is dense and often overwhelming, with layers of menus, icons, and features that appear too quickly for new players to understand. Tutorials sometimes feel incomplete, forcing people to learn systems by trial and error. Localization varies in quality, with some languages receiving more polished translations and voice acting than others. Occasional stuttering, animation bugs, or crashes can interrupt gameplay, especially in graphically intense areas. These issues do not ruin the experience, but they remind players that this is a large, complex, free-to-play game, still evolving through updates and community feedback. If you define an MMORPG as a persistent, fully shared open world, where players quest, fight, and live together continuously, then Where Winds Meet does not fit that definition. Its world is not persistent in the way classic MMOs are. Instead, it separates its narrative world from its multiplayer hub. The MMO elements, while rich and engaging, do not constitute a full RPG ecosystem. They are expansions to a primarily single-player and co-op structure. However, if you view the game as part of the growing hybrid genre that blends open-world RPGs with online social systems, then Where Winds Meet may very well be one of the most impressive titles released in years. It offers a level of freedom, creativity, and high-quality combat that many MMOs struggle to achieve, while avoiding the heavy monetization traps that often plague free-to-play online games. It invites players to experiment, to define their own identities, and to explore a world that feels handcrafted rather than procedurally filled.